Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to Duel Academy. And today we're going to talk about spells and traps and how they work. There are, many different types of spell and traps in the game, and it could be confusing and overwhelming sometimes. So I hope this video will be good enough to help you out. So let's start today's lesson by looking at the different types of spells before we get into traps. So as we learned in the last lesson, we know that there are regular spells, right? And regular traps. So, to start, a regular spell. A regular spell, as you can see, can only be played during your turn. Like, let's say it's my turn and this card is in my hand. I am allowed to play this card, and whatever the effect of the card is, goes off unless it's negated. So, let's place it right here. We know we have our normal spell. After a normal spell, we have what's called a continuous spell, right? A continuous spell is a little bit different, as when you play your normal spell, right, as soon as the effect goes off, you send it to the graveyard, and that's that. Now, a continuous spell, as you can see, has an infinite symbol right here. A continuous spell, right, whenever you play it during your turn, or you could set it, you can set it and activate it later. But when you activate your continuous spell, it will remain on the field until either you destroy it with a card effect, your opponent destroys it with a card effect, or it destroys itself through its own effect. Example, some cards have a cost pay, which is like pay 500 life points, pay 200 life points, or destroy this card whenever, like let's say it's your turn, it says pay 200 life points at the end of your turn or destroy this card. So some cards destroy themselves. But just so you know, continuous spells will remain on the field for as long as they are there. You can destroy them, your opponents can destroy them, but they will remain on the field. So let's place our continuous spell here. Okay, continuing on, we have what's called an equip spell. Well, an equip spell, as you can see up here in the corner, has a plus sign, right? And what do equip spells do? Well, to begin, equip spells work in a little bit different way, right? An equip spell usually requires a monster on the field or in the graveyard or wherever it is that the effect says. Let's use this card, Living Fossil, as an example, right? Let us say that I have this card, Blackwing Mistral, the Silver Shield, right? In the graveyard. It's there. It's been destroyed. And I have my Living Fossil in hand. Living Fossil's effect says, activate this card by targeting one level 4 or lower monster in the grave, special summon it, and equip it with this card. So let's do it, right? This is my equip card, play Living Fossil, target my card in the graveyard, and then through the card effect, special summon my monster back to the field. So an equip spell, the cool thing is it doesn't leave the field as long as the monster is still on the field. The thing with equip spells is that they're kind of like, intertwined with whatever the monster is. So you equip to it, and so it doesn't leave the field until that monster leaves the field. That's usually the rule. Some cards say otherwise, but this card specifically says, like whenever you equip that monster special summon it, this card remains here. But if this card gets destroyed, for example, I banish the monster. So for example, right, if this card gets destroyed somehow, it would get banished, and then this card would just go to the graveyard, right? So as an example, this card would be banished, right? Like we did last lesson, would be banished, and then this would go to the graveyard. But for the sake of learning, we're going to use our Living Fossil to bring this monster back, and remember, it's going to stay on the field. So yeah, so far we've learned regular spells, continuous spells, and equip spells. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is a quick play spell. A quick play spell is a spell card that you can play from the hand during any phase of your turn. So, you can also set them to use them like trap cards. So, for example, I can set this like a trap, wait for my opponent's turn, and during my opponent's turn, I can activate this card to do things. But the cool thing about a quick play spell card that makes it different than a regular spell card is that a regular spell card, you know, when I play it, for example, I can play it during any phase, but my opponent, you know, it's easier to negate. It's easier to get rid of. But when you play a quick play, it's usually in response. For example, I summon this. My opponent uses, let's say, a continuous spell. Let's say this is a continuous spell on your opponent's side of the field, right? My opponent activates that. Now I can actually chain, which means, you know, whenever he activates that card, I can activate this card in response. Right, I activate this card. Let's say I discard a card, and now I can destroy it, right? So, quick play cards in a short term are cards that kind of behave a lot faster than all the other spell cards. So quick play spell cards are really, really helpful during the duel because it can get you out of tough situations. You know, it can help you accomplish things that otherwise would be very hard to do. So quick play spell cards are just a much, much faster, you know, regular spell card. And, you know, they're even faster than these guys because most of them are destruction cards or like cards that would interrupt whatever your opponent's doing. So they're more like a response card, right? So that's that. That's our quick play. But quick play, right, just like regular other spell cards, when you play a quick play and everything's done and the effect is over, it will go to the graveyard just like a regular spell cards, right? So let's say like we used our card, we send it to the graveyard now, right? Now, the next spell card that we have here is, you know, field spells. Well, how do I know it's a field spell? A field spell has not a cross, but almost like a star up here. And, you know, I realize now that we forgot, but a quick play spell has a lightning, right? And our field spell has a star. Almost like a star there, right? Like a little bit of like a knife. If anyone ever watched Naruto, it's like a shuriken, most of it. And where does my field spell go? Well, as the name suggests, right, we have the field zone up here, and this is what we call a field spell. So therefore, when you play your field spell, you play it in the field zone, right up here, above the extra deck. That's where you would play your field spell, right? Now, one thing that most people don't talk about very often is that when you play your field spell, you don't have to play it always face up, like activated. You can actually set your field spell, right? And then go about your business. And then whenever it's, you know, convenient or whenever you want, you just activate your field spell. And that's how field spells work. They go on the field zone, right? And field spells usually work with archetypes. They usually work, you know, to help the deck be consistent. There's so many different kinds of field spells. It's hard for us to explain in one video. But you guys, as you go and you like choose your deck and your monsters and how you want to play, how many cards you want in your deck, you will figure out what will be the best field spell for you. Field spells are very archetype heavy. For example, you know, in the Junk and Stardust decks, they usually play Starlight Junction because it's like a Junk and a Synchron kind of card. But if you play any other archetype that has specific names, like, I don't know, Shadal or, you know, Altergeist, they might have a field spell that goes with that archetype's name and, you know, works with those cards. So, yes, that's what a field spell is. And I'm going to leave it here in the field zone. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about a ritual spell card. Ritual spell cards are very different than other spell cards. As you know, our field spell has an effect, but it goes in the field zone. Our continuous and equip will stay on the field as long as they have to. Our quick play and regular spells go to the grave as soon as they're done with their effects. But a ritual card has this neat thing where it's like a summoning condition, right? We'll get more into it when we talk about ritual summoning, but I want you guys to know what a ritual spell card looks like, right? And so up here, there's a flame right here. And in its text, it would usually tell you what are the requirements to ritual summon. We will talk about this whenever we do ritual summon, but I just wanted you guys to check it out. But just like every other spell cards, after you activate your ritual summon and you summon whatever the monster it is that this summons, it would just still go to the graveyard, right? And so to wrap up today's video, I want to show you guys the collection of all the spell cards in my hand. And I want you guys to take a look at all the different symbols that they contain, right? So, hold on a second. There we go. So we have our continuous, our equip, our field spell, our quick play, and our flame up, like a little flame ritual spell. So that wraps up for today, guys. So hope you liked the video. Leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any questions about how to play, anything that might be, bothering you while you're playing. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. We're going to talk about trap cards.